of station staff, management, and advertisers.
What's up, everybody? A happy Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Pushing the Limits. Thank you for being here. You have entered one of the fastest growing talk shows in the country. Yes, that's right. I'm very proud to say that. You could be watching on my YouTube page. That's also growing fast. Like 500 subscribers a day. Pretty good. At PTL Radio Show. I think this weekend we're going to hit 70,000 subscribers. So we're getting there. We want to get to 100,000 in a few months, and I think we're going to get there as well. Also, of course, the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitch. My website, pushingthelimits.live, and we appreciate you being here. Man, we got a treat for you coming up at the bottom of the hour. One of my favorite comedians on the planet. He's got 1 billion views on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. I think he would consider himself an independent like myself, but certainly he leans to the left. So funny, so smart. The very talented Steve Hofstetter will be joining us at the bottom of the hour, so really looking forward to catching up with him. David Pakman's going to be joining us next week, so that's going to be fun. And we got some great guests lined up for you next week as well. We have a lot to get to today, and we're going to be playing some audio. Fox News just embarrassing themselves all day yesterday. Right-wing media trying to defend the indefensible with what Donald Trump has done to this country in just a few weeks. We'll get to that and the clown show. So we're going to have some fun. Of course, we're going to take some calls in hour number 2. But I want to start with this story because this is so alarming. Back in June, I went to a Donald Trump rally, and some of my videos went viral. And I was live on Newsmax because they interviewed me. They didn't even know who I was. You might have seen some of these videos where I'm wearing my Boston Celtics jersey. And I said I felt like I was at a Klan rally. And a lot of people on the right were very upset at me for making that statement. Part of the reason why some of those videos went viral. What has happened in the last 24 hours is a perfect example of why I called it a Klan cult and why the Trump administration, in my opinion, are white supremacist sympathizers. Because if you haven't heard of this story, a key DOJ staff member who gained access to the Treasury Department's central payment system resigned yesterday after he was linked to deleted social media account that advocated for racism. Some of the things that this bigoted moron that Elon Musk hired said, quote, just for the record, I was racist before it was cool. This idiot also said, normalize Indian hate. He said, I would not mind at all if Gaza and Israel were both wiped off the face of the earth. Let me remind you that J.D. Vance's wife is from Indian descent, and J.D. Vance is advocating to bring this guy back. I'm not making this up. J.D. Vance's statement on X is as follows. Here's my view. I obviously disagree with some of these posts, but I don't think stupid social media activity should ruin a kid's life. This is not stupid social media activity. Okay. That's not what this is. This is racism. This is bigotry. This is advocating for racism. Let me remind you, J.D. Vance's wife is from Indian descent, and J.D. Vance says, so I say bring him back. This guy said, quote, normalize Indian hate. J.D. Vance's wife is Indian. J.D. Vance goes on to say, if he's a bad dude or a terrible member of the team, fire him for that. So somebody who advocates for racism, who says normalize Indian hate, who is a proud racist, and who says Gaza and Israel should be wiped off the face of the earth, and J.D. Vance says if he's a bad person. This is why I call the Trump administration, Donald Trump, and many who work within his administration white supremacist sympathizers, and this is why I call it a Klan cult. What would happen if this was a black person, for example, that made some racist statements about white people? Do you think J.D. Vance would be defending him? Of course not. This is despicable. Now, what happens? when somebody makes a racist statement, say in the workplace in this country, could be at a radio station, could be in your office cubicle, could be anywhere, and it becomes public, the company will normally put out a statement, fire that individual, and say, they don't represent our beliefs, and this employee doesn't represent our beliefs of this company, and that's why we've let him go. And that's the appropriate thing to do, not Elon Musk. Elon Musk not only has not put out a statement like that, but he's defending this guy. J.D. Vance defending this guy. Quote, I say bring him back. This is a Klan cult with a bunch of white supremacists and neo-Nazi sympathizers. Go ahead and put Elon Musk and J.D. Vance on that list, but we knew about them before. These are the kinds of people who are going to have our personal information. Is anybody comfortable with that? I know I'm not. So while all this stuff is going on, Fox News is embarrassing themselves with the guests that they have, like the Alina Habas and the Pam Bondis and the Sean Duffys. I mean, the list goes on and on with the idiots that are in Donald Trump's administration. And if you don't know who Alina Habba is, this is Donald Trump's, personal attorney. And she showed up yesterday on Fox News on the Evil Racist Witches show, also known as Laura Ingraham. She sounds like a scarecrow, by the way, Laura Ingraham. She's the racist scarecrow. Joe Biden. Listen to Habba speak on Laura Ingram's show last night.
It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat. I was at the prayer breakfast this morning, the national prayer breakfast, and I saw people that tried to persecute President Trump sit in front of him. And that man looked at all of them, just like Zuckerberg, just like Bezos, just like these people that are now surrounding us and helping the cause. He said one thing: if America could only get the left and the right to sit down and work together, we would be so strong. We could do more than I can do by myself.
Yeah. What has Habba done by herself? First of all, can you think of anybody worse than Donald Trump to actually work with the other side and have Republicans and Democrats sit at a table and negotiate and work together? She's blaming this on Democrats. You think Donald Trump is the guy to work with Democrats? Are you kidding me? What an idiotic thing to say. But again, Habba is a complete idiot. She's probably one of the worst attorneys out there that passed the bar, lost in Donald Trump's case, by the way, and somehow she becomes a household name on the right because she's attractive. It's certainly not because she's smart. And then, this is how pathetic Fox News is, because these are the type of guests that they get. Listen to Habba trying to be funny on the Evil Racist Witch Laura Ingraham show.
Don't care about fairness. They are completely woke, and it is an actual joke. And I just rhymed for you, Laura. There's your clip. Not on purpose.
I didn't do it on purpose. They're woke and it's a joke. You want to talk about two dumb bimbos, Laura Ingraham and Habba, two dumb, talentless idiots that spread bigotry and hatred and support a liable, sexual abusing, adjudicated rapist that also is a 34-count felon. Two absolute bimbos. And this is the type of programming that they have on Fox Noise. And here's the point where Habba starts talking about a mandate. That's what these far-right imbeciles do every single day. They say America spoke and it was a mandate.
There was a clear mandate from America that we want what's good, what's God, and what's healthy and right and safety. And these people...
First of all, it's not a clear mandate. They keep saying that. They're wrong. It was one of the closest elections in American history, and Donald Trump won by less than 1.5% of the popular vote. That is not a mandate. If you want to talk about a mandate, we can talk about how Joe Biden won in 2020, which was a much larger margin of victory than Donald Trump. But you see, they'll say they cheated and that was fake and that was phony, but this was a legitimate election. These are some of the dumbest people that America has to offer. Speaking of some of the dumbest people that America has to offer, what about Sean Duffy? They are still talking about DEI after that joke of an interview with Laura Ingraham, who is just a disgraceful human being, with Haba. This is the entire night last night. I'm playing it for you. This is. Then Sean Hannity interviews Sean Duffy, and you would think after that embarrassing press conference where Donald Trump basically blamed the plane crash over Reagan Airport on DEI hires, when we learned that that had absolutely nothing to do with the crash. The investigation is still ongoing. You have Sean Duffy on the Sean Hannity show. And what are they talking about? Are they talking about the grieving families? Are they talking about how, maybe they made some mistakes and maybe Elon Musk shouldn't have put pressure to gut the FAA and they didn't even have somebody in that position until after the crash? Are they talking about how they're comforting the families? No. The moron, Sean Hannity, speaking to another moron, Sean Duffy, and they're bringing up DEI and talking about how Trump always stands behind women. I'm not making this up. Just have a listen to this.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is with us. Well, like everybody, I mean, it's all shock and awe. But when you go back to the DEI policies, and we didn't really, the word woke was not a big part of the vernacular, even in Donald Trump's first term. But when they put in DEI policies that would allow the hiring at the FAA of people with intellectual and psychiatric disabilities, and I read that, that was shock and awe to me. What was your reaction?
Well, Sean, I want to look at what was the focus of the department, right? The main focus, back to the history, was safety. The problem is they were focusing on, as you mentioned, the environment, EVs, changing language for social justice. They want to be politically correct. And when you don't focus on your systems and your safety, bad things happen. And so
Yeah, you guys are really focusing on safety, aren't you? You guys have gutted the FAA. You didn't even have a leader when they axed the leader, and you only replaced the position after this horrible plane crash. And in the first sentence, when Sean Hannity introduces Sean Duffy on Fox News yesterday, the racist bigot Sean Hannity brings up DEI. You want to talk about psychiatric disabilities? That would be the commander-in-chief right now. Duffy is a complete imbecile. Sean Hannity spreads his bigotry, and they might as well just say the N-word on Fox News every night, because every single time a Sean Hannity or a Laura Ingraham or a Jesse Waters says DEI, what they really are doing are calling black people the N-word, period. That is what they are doing. And it wasn't the left or mainstream media that used the term woke. It was MAGA Republicans that used the term woke. So I don't know what Sean Hannity is talking about there. This was the first few hours last night on Fox News. You had that moron Haba, another moron, Sean Duffy, and then who's Sean Hannity's second guest? Oh, none other than Pam Bondi, who's talking about how people should follow the law. Listen to this.
I believe under Merrick Garland and Joe Biden, the DOJ has been weaponized. With that, there are many, many employees at the Justice Department that were a part of that weaponization. Did they have an obligation not to participate in it, speak out against it? And if they didn't do so, would that be disqualifying in your mind?
Sean, certainly, you have to follow the ethical standards of being a prosecutor, and you have to follow the law. And that's why we have signed multiple executive orders taking us back to our core function of prosecuting real crime and violent crime. And that's how this Justice Department will function, and that's how President Trump wants this administration to function, even-handedly and fair, and restore integrity.
Integrity, ethics, and the rule of law. And this is a woman who wears the Donald Trump knee pads and is willing to lie for Donald Trump and won't even say who won the 2020 election. Yeah, because the first person that I think of when I think of ethics, the first person that I think of when I think of morals is definitely the orange turd. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Pammy. That makes a lot of sense. You want to talk about weaponized? How many FBI agents have you fired? And how many FBI agents are going to be left for doing their job? And she wants to talk about the rule of law. What about the guy who you support, the guy who you've coddled and raised money for, who is literally a 34-count felon? But we want to be lectured by Pam Bondi, again, the ditz who won't even say who won the 2020 election, a complete and utter imbecile who won't say who won the 2020 election. Are you kidding me? Here's Pam Bondi praising Judge Cannon. By the way, let me be clear. She calls Judge Cannon a brilliant judge. Now, why would she say that? Oh, because Judge Cannon has ruled in Donald Trump's favor every time, and then the higher-ups have ruled that Judge Cannon was wrong. But yet, if you suck up to Donald Trump or suck something, then somehow you're made to be out a hero. Notice how Pam Bondi doesn't want to talk about the January 6th insurrectionists, so many of them that were violent that day, that were pardoned. Or another January 6th insurrectionist yesterday that was caught with child porn, who is now back in jail. Or one of those that were pardoned that got into a gunfight with officers and was killed. No, they don't want to talk about that, but follow the law, though. But if you're a white supremacist and you beat police officers with their own batons, we'll let you go. We'll pardon you because we feel like the justice system, it's been weaponized. So if you're a white supremacist and you beat up cops on January 6th, that's okay. Pam Bondi now talking about Judge Cannon, who also wears the Donald Trump knee pads. Have a listen to this.
Well, special counsels from here on out in our country will be legally appointed, and they won't be done constantly like they've been done in the past. And yeah, Judge Cannon is a brilliant judge. She followed the law. That will be upheld, and the weaponization of government will end. No more special counsels out there targeting anyone.
Really? You're not going to target anyone? Interesting, Pammy. Because the guy who is going to be leading the FBI literally has a hit list in his book of the people that he is going to go after. You have literally weaponized everyone in every entity that does not agree with Donald Trump. You have gone after FBI agents and fired FBI agents for just doing their job and conducting an investigation. Do Trump supporters out there think that there shouldn't have been an investigation after January 6th, the who, what, when, where, and why? Because that's basically what they're saying. So many of these FBI agents, they go to work every day and they did their job. But it's a two-tier justice system, right? That's what it is. Make no mistake about it. This is an oligarchy. Make no mistake about it. That's all that this is. This is a dictatorship. And Pam Bondi wants to lecture the American people about the rule of law when we have a 34-count convicted felon in the White House as the president of the United States. Pam Bondi wants to talk about the rule of law. Now, obviously, Sean Hannity is a complete right-wing boob, literally and figuratively. Two of them. If I was interviewing the real Pam Bondi, I would ask her, Pam, you talk about the rule of law. Okay. Let's see if we can have some consistency here. Donald Trump and his administration in the first couple weeks have already broken the law. You guys fired 17 attorneys general without giving Congress a 30-day notice. That is literally against the law. Pam, how would you respond to that? Now, she would probably give me a very similar answer to the answer that Stephen Miller gave to CNN and Jake Tapper, which was, we feel like that law is unconstitutional. So on one side, if they don't like the law, they're just going to break the law and say it's unconstitutional. But they claim that they want everybody to follow the law. Folks, does this make any sense at all? That is my biggest concern. Besides Elon Musk, and we'll get to that, and besides, tech billionaires having all of our personal information, one of my biggest concerns, and I have many of them, but one of my biggest concerns in the Trump administration is Donald Trump does not respect the rule of law now, and he never has. He doesn't respect rules and regulations. He doesn't respect the law because he's been breaking the law his entire life. Now, it could be inflating your assets, claiming that Mar-a-Lago is worth $10 billion. It could be members of his family allegedly stealing from their own charities. It could be hiring people within your family for financial gain. Yeah, we forget about that, don't we? We forget about Jared Kushner and the $2.1 billion he received from the Saudis because he wasn't sending Mike Pompeo out to Saudi Arabia. No. In the final months of Donald Trump's first administration, he sent Jared Kushner. And then several months later, he gets $2.1 billion. But that's America first, right? We don't hear about Ivanka Trump anymore, right? She's hiding in the basement. She made over $500 million in Chinese trademarks when she was working in Donald Trump's administration. But the MAGA morons out there still want to talk about Hunter Biden and Burisma. And Pam Bondi has the gall to talk to us about the rule of law. Donald Trump has never abided and respected law. Never has he decided to respect the rules and regulations in this country, whether it be before he got into public office or after. So I'm not about to be lectured by Pam Bondi because she is pathetic. And she is an embarrassment to this country. And quite frankly, anybody else's that can't say that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. That's important. And the reason why that's important is because if they're not willing to admit the obvious because it might upset Donald Trump, then what are they willing to do now? That's why I said it back then, and that's why I say it now. If you're not willing to say that Donald Trump lost in 2020 and admit the obvious, then what is Pam Bondi willing to do for Donald Trump now that she is in this position? Think about that for a moment. Think about that. And it doesn't even end there. You had all this garbage on Fox News last night. Pam Bondi, Sean Duffy, Alina Habba. Andrew Clyde is the Republican who called January 6th and those, some of whom committed very violent acts on January 6th. Remember, this was the idiot who called it a tourist visit? He was the Republican who made national news for calling it a tourist visit. That's right. You can look that up if you don't believe me. So another joke of a news organization, they're not even news. They're right-wing coddlers to Donald Trump, is Newsmax. And I want you to listen to this guy, Andrew Clyde, because he was asked, again, about Donald Trump last night on Newsmax. I want you to listen to what these right-wing idiots like Andrew Clyde say about Donald Trump these days. It's really mesmerizing, the level of ass-kissing. Have a listen to this.
The interest in the Gaza Strip from a U.S. perspective, your thoughts there on what happens next?
Well, you know, President Trump is an amazing individual. He thinks outside the box in many, many areas. And, you know, what we've seen happen in Gaza over the last number of decades just hasn't been working. So I think it's time for a new solution. I think the president has put forward one that has merit to it. And I think that we'll just wait and see how it actually, you know, transpires. But I think the president has a pretty interesting idea that deserves some serious thought.
And it's floating, yeah.
Listen to the words of Andrew Clyde. Has merit, interesting idea, thinks outside the box. When specifically taught, first of all, I wouldn't characterize that about Donald Trump about anything in his life. Andrew Clyde is talking about Donald Trump's statements about taking over Gaza and owning it. Now, even Republicans on Capitol Hill think that this is an outrageous idea. Many of them have stayed silent about it, but they know it's absolutely crazy. And when talking about owning and taking over a sovereign nation without any plan on how you would displace over 2 million innocent Palestinians living in Gaza, Andrew Clyde, the same idiot who said January 6th was a tourist visit, is now saying Donald Trump's statements about Gaza have merit. He thinks outside the box, and they're very, quote, interesting. I mean, the ass-kissing is unbelievable. Andrew Clyde can't possibly believe that. He's only saying that to coddle Donald Trump, who has hijacked the Republican Party. And quite frankly, hijacked America, if you really want to be honest. hijacked America. Is there anybody that thinks Donald Trump's statements claiming that he would own Gaza and we would take over Gaza, that those statements, quote, have merit and they're interesting, and that Donald Trump is an amazing individual? Yeah, I'm sure Melania Trump feels that way, right, behind closed doors. I'm sure Donald Trump's exes and those that have been close to him and the Mike Pences of the world and those that have worked for him for years and years, I'm sure they would characterize him as an amazing person. Donald Trump is an amazing, liable sexual abuser. He's an amazing 34-count felon. He's an amazing snake oil salesman. He's an amazing liar. He's an amazing, horrific human being. That's who he is. And he's hired a bunch of woman-abusing, sexual abusing, liars and idiots and conspiracy theories that are working in his administration. So nice job by the right-wing media. Nice job, Fox News, last night. Now they're probably going to rehire this guy from Doge who literally said, just for the record, I was racist before it was cool. Normalize Indian hate. I would not mind at all if Gaza and Israel were both wiped off the face of the earth. Our own vice president's response to that? I say bring him back. We're going to take a quick break. And when we do come back, we are coming back. And one of my favorite comedians on the planet, over 1 billion views on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, the very funny and talented Steve Hofstetter is going to be joining us next. Take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
It's time to wake up and win the weekend. You're listening to the boss of the big ball. JP the Kicker. Giving you that grease. Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time for the live action on Vegas Scoreboard Express on KSHP 107.1 FM and AM 1400. Dive into the game day with my in-depth analysis, expert predictions, and winning plays from the sharpest minds in sports betting. It's more than just placing bets. It's about securing wins. Head over to jptheticket.com and be sure to tune in to KSHP this weekend from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time to ride the winning wave with VSX. Tune in and get your money back from the sports book. All money, all sports, no bull. Missed the live show? Subscribe to Vegas Scoreboard Express on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts and radio listening.
Since 1949, Norm's restaurants have served up classic comfort food and unbeatable value across Southern California. And they're now open in Las Vegas at 4605 West Charleston at Decatur. Enjoy favorites like the Bigger, Better Breakfast, T-Bone Steak Trio, and more. Norm's is finally open in Vegas at 4605 West Charleston at Decatur. Visit norms.com for more information. Lee Canyon is Las Vegas's nearby ski and snowboard escape. Less than an hour from the Strip, experience great snow and terrain for all ability levels. And oh, the stunning mountain scenery. We believe in skiing for all, with lift tickets starting at just $14. And kids under 12 ski free. The season runs from November to April, sometimes May. So get skiing now. Learn more at LeeCanyonLV.com.
Clear Sky Resorts invites you to experience the future of luxury glamping at their newest resort, opening August 1st, 2024 near Bryce Canyon. Guests at the first and only glass-domed stargazing resort in the U.S. will be immersed in the stunning scenery of the resort's private 80-acre canyon, both indoors and out. And nights in your Sky Dome will be like sleeping in an aquarium of stars. Located in Cannonville, Utah, on Scenic Byway 12, voted one of the most scenic roads in America. The resort will feature lots of fun on-resort activities, as well as one of the world's largest glass-domed restaurants. To book your reservation, please call 1-888-704-4445 or visit clearskyresorts.com.
Life's a Bagel is a family-owned and operated business open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving bagels and bread made fresh daily. There's way more than just bagels. Fresh breads, breakfast sandwiches, deli sandwiches, cream cheeses, salads, delicious desserts, soups, and full-line deli and catering. Located at 2223 North Rampart Boulevard. For more information, you can call 702-565-5055. Or if you would like to place an online order, you can visit their website at lifesabagelnv.com. Life's a Bagel, serving the Valley one bagel at a time. Discover the art of flawless beauty at Beauty by Thread in Las Vegas. Specializing in eyebrow threading, the skilled professionals will give you the perfect arch every time. Whether it's your brows, upper lip, neck, or full face, Beauty by Thread has you covered. Located in the heart of Las Vegas at 7415 South Durango, Unit 101. Hours are Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. by appointment only. So book your appointment today with Helen by calling or texting her at 714-470-1369. And don't forget to mention KSHP.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. This portion of the program brought to you by the official gaming bar of the PTL radio show, Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones, home of the Pass the Puck contest during Vegas Golden Knights games, where you can win up to $500 in free slot play. Great food, great atmosphere. We love Jackson's Bar and Grill. Check them out and tell them that I sent you. I also ask all of you to check out my website. It's fairly new. It's been around for about 6 months or so. I think that's still pretty new. It's pushingthelimits.live. Again, that website is pushingthelimits.live. We sell merchandise on there. Shirts, hats, beanies, you name it, we sell it. Also an opportunity to make a donation. Doesn't matter what it is, $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can do, we appreciate. This is an independently owned radio show, and we certainly appreciate your supports. So please check that out at pushingthelimits.live. My understanding, in a few minutes, Steve Hofstetter is going to be joining us. The very popular comedian. He's got over like 1 billion views on social media, so in a few minutes, he's going to be joining us as well. So stay tuned for that. There's a lot we have been talking about to start the program. And at least the biggest news, in my opinion, And it goes to show you of where the Trump administration is at right now, where you have this former Doge employee who said, quote, just for the record, I was racist before it was cool. He said, normalize Indian hate. He said, I would not mind at all if Gaza and Israel were both wiped off the face of the earth. Now, obviously, anybody who makes statements like that is a deranged bigot and a really bad human being. I don't care if you're 18 years old or 80 years old. Anybody who makes statements like that, I think we all could agree, utterly disgusting, right? Terrible, disgusting. So what does J.D. Vance say? Today, he takes to social media, and instead of doing what any normal, non-bigoted person would do, which would say, yeah, no place, person should have no place in our government, working in our government in any facet. Nobody should have personal information or working for our treasury that would ever make statements like that. A normal leader, a vice president, or quite frankly, anybody that works in the president's administration normally would make statements like that, but not J.D. Vance. Nope, not J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance said, we shouldn't reward journalists who try to destroy people ever. So I say, bring him back. I want to remind all of you that J.D. Vance's wife is Indian. And this guy who made these statements said, normalize Indian hate. Crazy stuff, man. Crazy, crazy stuff and crazy times that we're living in. So the guy joining us on the show right now is one of my favorite comics around. You got to check him out if you haven't already. The guy has over 1 billion views on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. He's a Nobel Peace Prize nominated comedian, which is pretty awesome. He's actually coming to Las Vegas in May. He's got this tour across the country. I believe it's starting in late February. Can't wait to see him. Be very funny and talented. And it's been a while since we had him on. Steve Hofstetter joining us. Steve, it's a pleasure having you on, my friend. Good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you too. Sorry, I was rushing, dealing with a whole thing.
That's okay. You're a busy guy, so I appreciate you taking the time to join us. Steve, I don't even know where to start. Obviously, I want to talk about your tour throughout the country. Looking forward to seeing you in Vegas in a few months. What do you make? I mean, it is almost comical, right? Where we're at as a country right now. What do you make of the first 3 weeks of Donald Trump's administration? I know that's a loaded question.
I know that they are purposefully doing so many things we can't keep up. I know that is part of it. They're flooding the zone, but it's like each new thing is awful. One of the things I was talking about today was when Donald Trump released 2.2 billion gallons of water that was needed for Central Valley of California. And I posted a joke about it today. I posted a joke saying that he released 2.2 billion gallons of water, and yet Ben Shapiro's wife is unaffected. Fun little stupid joke.
It's funny, though. Very funny.
The amount of sycophants in the comments who are trying to justify not only releasing water 200 miles away from the fires, releasing water after the fires were contained. This was after.
Right.
This was not during. This was after.
Yeah.
The amount of people who are not only defending the move, but blaming it somehow on Gavin Newsom.
Or DEI. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's DEI. I mean, it is DEI because we have included someone as president who does not deserve that job.
True.
So it is DEI in a way. Although when they use the word DEI, it's code for something different than actual diversity.
Steve, what goes through your mind after this horrible plane crash when Donald Trump holds the press conference, speaking of DEI, and he starts mentioning DEI without even knowing who the pilots are, knowing nothing about what happened? I mean, what goes through your mind when you see something like that? Do you laugh? Do you cry? What goes through your mind?
The thing that bothers me the most, I think, is the people who are like, oh, the punchlines write themselves. It's like, first of all, no, they don't, because this is beyond satire. This is, you cannot, if I wrote this script a decade ago, I'd have been laughed out of the room at how unbelievable this is. First of all, the lack of compassion for the 65 people who died, horrific. Second of all, to blame this on anything before you know what's going on. And also to be the guy who just fired half the FAA.
Right.
who just gutted the FAA and then just be like, no, it must have been because of something else. Yeah, like, I want to know how many plane crashes do we need? How many plane crashes? How many schools shutting down? How many government officials to be paid $10 billion to not come to work? How much of that do we need before someone goes, my vote might have been a mistake?
Such a good point. And so many of these MAGA supporters out there refuse to admit they're wrong about anything. What do you make of this story in the last 24 hours, Steve, where you have this former Doge employee who said, normalize Indian hate? Just for the record, I was racist before it was cool. And among other things, terrible things, right? And JD Vance today on social media, keep in mind his wife is Indian, and he's saying this guy should be rehired. We shouldn't ruin his life. Like, what do you make of that?
Well, from what I see of how JD Vance treats women and talks about women, his wife isn't Indian. His property is Indian, because that's how he seems to view it. He seems to view women's purpose as baby factories. Mm-hmm. And he just put down a lease on this particular baby factory. The idea that we don't see them at events together, and even when they are together, there's no love there. And I don't know what their personal relationship is like, but I know that if a friend of mine was dating a guy who treated her the way that JD Vance treats her in public, not even private, in public, I'd have said run. Right. So I don't think that JD Vance is offended, and especially because, if anything, I believe he would I'm guessing in his wedding toast there was a phrase, one of the good ones.
It wouldn't surprise me either. If you're just joining us, very, very talented comic Steve Hofstetter joining us on the show. So Steve, you are kind of like the master, not kind of, you are at dealing with hecklers. I love your videos on social media, and there's a reason why you're so popular, because you're so good at what you do. Are you prepared for the next 4 years? Because you've had to deal with these hecklers for a good amount of your career, at least for the last 7 or 8 years, probably your whole life, but MAGA hecklers in particular. Are you prepared that it's going to be maybe worse than ever for you to be going up there and these MAGA hecklers, who you've never been scared of, you destroy them? But what are you prepared for going forward now with how crazy things are and how divided we are as a country?
Well, a little something happened last week where someone online, someone on Facebook under, one of these secret accounts or whatever, where they change their name and their picture and all that stuff, sent me a very specific death threat, a threat saying that if I show up to my Arlington show, he'll be there armed, and I don't know his name and I don't know what he looks like, and etc. But here's the thing. My wife is a millennial woman. And I don't know if you've ever dated a millennial woman, but if they want to learn something on the internet about you, they will. And so within a half hour, we had his girlfriend's name, his photo, his mother's name, her home address, her home phone number, et cetera, et cetera. And I, of course, sent it to the cops, sent it to the FBI, sent it to the venue. And I also posted a video, by the way, hi, David. I also posted a video saying, we do know who you are. You are not as clever as you think you are. You are not as hidden as you think you are. And I think a lot of these people's terrible views, as awful as they are, crumble in the face of their own cowardice. And so if someone is going to interrupt a show and say something stupid, well, it'd be pretty easy to defeat them. And in fact, something that I'm going to do for the first time on my channel, I'm probably announcing it officially tomorrow, but I could tell you ahead of time. All the time people send me these, why don't you debate me? You don't know what you're talking about. Just come debate me, which is hilarious because these are the same people who were bullying the debate team in high school. I said yes. I said yes to someone. And I am going to have a professional, reasoned conversation on my channel. We are going to allow fans to ask questions live. And if they want to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm doing no prep for it whatsoever, by the way.
Right.
And if they want to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, well, let's see how that holds up.
All right. So what time does this start? Because I got to check this out myself. This is very exciting because, I used to have a co-host years back, and you just destroyed him on the show. And I'm just sitting there laughing.
I remember.
I don't think there's anybody better at this than you. I really mean that genuinely, at just destroying MAGA with facts. I do it on my show every day. You are the master of it. What time does this start tomorrow? Is it on all your channels? Is it on like YouTube and everywhere live, or what? Where do you plan on?
So the way we're going to do a live Zoom,
Okay.
and then we're going to post it later on.
Gotcha.
So it'll simultaneously be a fundraiser for the Steel City Arts Foundation. So the ticket money will go there. And it's going to be February 20th, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And, I wanted to do it at a time where people from other countries could also join in to see just how in trouble we are. The idea is that, people can join it live, or if they choose to, they can just, hold out and watch it later.
I love that idea. I wanted to ask you this. Do you feel like at all on TikTok, wherever you are, do you feel like you're being censored at all? Because you're so popular on social media. I think YouTube is great, by the way. And there are media entities that are fantastic. And then there are media entities like Rumble that let people use the N-word, which obviously you and I would never do because we're not racist. But do you feel like you have been censored at all, particularly since Donald Trump took office again?
Actually, my stuff is a little bit less censored since then, because I was getting hit by, not being able to, this is terrestrial radio, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there were some words that you can't say on broadcast that I tend to say in my videos. And so I was being hit by that more so than being political. Because my stuff isn't just, here's a political thought. I would get hit more for the other stuff. But also, I find that in times like this, a jerk like me who speaks up for those who are too afraid to speak, my stuff tends to get more eyeballs than less. Now, I don't know what it would get if the algorithm wasn't pulling strings. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe instead of 1 million views, a video would have gotten 10 million views. But
right.
I deal with what I have, and I just get louder.
Steve, this is kind of a loaded question, but
all right, I can't wait.
But I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. There's a lot of reasons why, but why do you think Kamala Harris lost? What do you think are the reasons, in your opinion, Steve, why she lost?
All right. The main reason why she lost is because we are still a racist and sexist country. But that's a broad reason. Another reason we lost is because the Democrats are terrible at messaging. And when, for a year, when the right was saying things like, oh, well, the reason groceries are so expensive, they should have just been like, stop lying. Stop lying right now. Stop lying. The groceries are more expensive because when the supply chain was difficult, companies used that as an excuse to raise prices and keep them there. And because your donors run those companies, you did nothing about it. That's why groceries are more expensive. They did not do any of that messaging. Instead, they were just like, but what about good vibes? And like, good vibes are not enough. There are people who are struggling financially, who are going to grasp onto anything that they are told that could make their life better. And the Democrats were not playing into that. I think Biden promising us a one-term presidency and then waffling about that was difficult, because Harris only had 2 months to campaign. Right. So that was really tough. And then, I also think that it has been 3 decades of defunding education, of vote suppression. The amount of states that were close enough that would have been flipped if people hadn't been disenfranchised. And so, look, it's a combination of a lot of things. Oh, and also these idiot third-party rebels, these people who are like, I don't know anything about politics, and that makes me cool. Like, no, you are a first semester poli-sci student and you know nothing. And that's okay.
So
you will
true.
learn more, but it doesn't make, it's the same people who were supporting Bernie, and then when he dropped out, voted for Gary Johnson, someone who is ideologically opposite of Bernie. But they were like, but this is also someone who's not mainstream.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, it's so
and
true.
it was a lot of that. And I hope that, like, look, I don't want any bad things to befall these people, but I hope that the Latino community that supported Trump understands what they did. I hope that the Palestinian community that supported Trump or Jill Stein understands what they did.
Mm-hmm.
I hope the suburban white young college students who decided to partner with either of those people because they think it makes them an ally, and no, not thinking does not make you an ally. I hope they understand what they did, because
So right.
we're in hell now.
Yes, we are. And you're so right about that. If you recall, Steve, the people outside of the DNC that were chanting Genocide Joe, who I would imagine voted for Donald Trump, what are they saying now? He's talking about taking over a sovereign nation and displacing 2 million Palestinians. I'm wondering, where are all these people now? But so I'm not asking you, Steve, to crap on any other comedians, because this is the industry that you're in. However, maybe we can make an exception for this guy. I don't know, Rob Schneider, who I think is an utter douchebag. What do you make of some of these comics that are so bigoted in nature, in not only some of the stuff they say on stage, but not even trying to be funny, just the stuff they say on social media about trans people and gay people and minorities? What do you make of a guy like a Rob Schneider? And I don't know, are they trying to become more popular again by saying crazy things? Like, what do you make of some of these people like the Rob Schneiders of the world?
Well, it's a combination of a couple things. First of all, someone who was progressive 40 years ago that hasn't changed their views at all is now right wing, because society moves. And there are some people who still fashion themselves cutting edge, and they're not cutting edge. They were cutting edge. There are also people who were just always hacks. And what wasn't, what was like a little hacky then has become super hacky now. Mm-hmm. Any comedian and I don't care what they believe in the rest of their life, any comedian who does my pronouns are blank and blank, shut up. Even if you didn't believe in horrible things, even if you weren't marginalizing millions of people, you are a hack. And like, I think the saddest thing to me about this all is that it's comedy's fault. The reason this happened, when you ask why did Harris lose, I gave you specifics about that election. Mm-hmm. But the reality is that so much of this, like, I've always viewed comedy as a really powerful thing. I mean, comedy is what finally brought Bill Cosby down, even though comedy is what made him, have the power to do what he did. But Hannibal Buress telling that one joke in Philly changed everything. And comedy has the ability to cut through a lot. And unfortunately, this bro-y Rogan sphere that has sprung up, this saying something awful makes me a rebel garbage that has happened, the people who think that they're pushing the envelope while casually using the same words that got Lenny Bruce arrested, it's their fault. And that hurts. And some of these people I know personally and used to consider friends. And it hurts to see that.
Were you friends with Rob Schneider? I'm just curious.
No, I've met Rob. I wasn't friends with Rob specifically, but there's, there's some people in that Rogan sphere. There's some people and I mean, I was on Rogan years ago.
Yeah.
And which is always funny when people are like, oh, a woke was like, you could never do Rogan. I'm like, episode 805, you idiot. I just never went back.
Right. I mean, I just think Rob Schneider's the worst. And there are people on social media that have big platforms, obviously, that are very, very dangerous. If you're just joining us, Steve Hofstetter, he's going to be coming to Las Vegas, I believe, in May. Let's talk a little bit about that. You got a big tour, right? You're all over the country. You're a very busy guy. You're literally everywhere. Do you ever get burnt out? I mean, if you're not putting up great videos and social media content, you're all over the country. Do you ever get tired? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, I'm often tired. I'm often burnt out, but then I have time to refresh. I have a wonderful support system. My wife is absolutely amazing, and that helps a great deal. I tour with friends, which helps also because, when you tour with friends, even when things don't go right, it's still fun because then you laugh about how bad it was. And like, look, this is something where, I have something like 130 cities this year.
Yep.
Okay, how many days a year do most people go to work? So yes, am I working most of the day from the time I wake up? Because social media is technically work, and writing and coming up with the ideas and etc. But the reality is that I'm very lucky to be able to do what I do. The travel is the hard part.
Right.
It's comedians or truckers with jokes.
Yeah.
And so getting from place to place is the difficult part. But once you get there, a good hotel and a nice meal and a great show with an awesome audience. I mean, one of the things that I'd say the thing I'm proudest of in my career is who my fans are. And I genuinely like doing those shows. And so it's hard to get burned out when you're doing what you love.
I would say in show business, you need a little bit of luck, but I would also say, it helps to be really good at what you do. And clearly you're one of the best in the business.
Thank you.
So you're going to be coming to town in May. Hopefully we can catch up then, Steve. I can't wait to watch that debate. You debate anybody on that's a MAGA supporter. It's must see. I've seen it myself at your shows, and I would recommend anybody go on any of your channels, YouTube and anywhere else, to see it. Before I let you go, can you give out, not that you need any extra promotion because you're one of the most popular people around, especially when it comes to social media, but where do people go to see your tour, where you're going to be at? I know you have your website. Where would you recommend people go if they've never seen you before?
So just stevehofstetter.com has all the tour dates and the ticket links. Also, don't just Google my tour, because you'll get these secondary resellers who all the people have been like, your tickets are $400. I'm like, no, they're not. No, they're not. A thief is trying to charge $400.
Yeah.
So yeah, go to my website, but it's also at Steve Hofstetter on every major social media except X, because that place is a cesspool.
Yep.
And I am happily off that.
And you're going to be at Wise Guys here in Las Vegas in a few months. Okay. I lied. One more question and then we'll let you go. And Steve,
Brian, I got time for you. It's fine.
Really appreciate your time, by the way. I know how busy you are. I don't think I've ever asked you this question. If you were in a room alone with Donald Trump, you and Donald Trump, I'm curious, if at all, what would you say to him?
Could I film it?
If you could film it, whatever you want to do, but it's just you and Donald Trump, what would you say to him? I'm curious.
If I could film it without him knowing I could film it, all I would have to do is agree with him, because he is so narcissistic that the second someone compliments him, the second someone agrees with him, and I would tell him I'd be like, oh yeah, I think these types of people are out to get you. And then I would just let him talk, because the thing that could actually take down Donald Trump, if NBC ever had the guts, to release the full footage from The Apprentice, the idea that he hasn't said 1,000 different horrific things that would finally stick. Yes. Is preposterous. So I think all I would do is, I know that you can't ask him a real question. He just makes stuff up. He lies. So what I would do is I would lean in and see how much I could get him to admit.
I think that's brilliant. I would hope that maybe one day that could happen, but I would imagine Donald Trump is probably more of a fan of Rob Schneider than yours for obvious stupid reasons. Steve, you're the best, my friend. You're one of the best in the business. Always appreciate it when you've always taken the time to do this show, and maybe we could get you in studio when you're in town, but can't wait for your show all over the country. Check him out, Steve Hofstetter. Steve, appreciate you, my friend. Thanks so much for coming on, and stay safe out there.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks and congrats on both, the syndication and not having Rob Schneider as a co-host.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God I don't have Rob as a co-host anymore. Steve, you're the best. Take care, my friend. Good to see you, bud. There you go. That's Steve Hofstetter, everybody. Yeah, so that's a funny story, by the way. So I was doing a show maybe, I don't know, what was it? Dumb check, 4 years ago? I don't know. I've been here for what, 3 years? I don't even remember. But it was like 4 years ago, and I'm doing a show with somebody. I'm not going to say the person's name, but he was a right-wing lunatic. I will say that. And I was just so sick of having to debate and even look at this person every day. So I said, Steve, can you please come on my show and just debate this guy? And oh my God, it was like an adult a Harvard law degree adult speaking to a toddler. And I'm just sitting there with my Tucker Carlson laugh. And I was just like mesmerized by it. I don't even know if it's still on social media, but it was great. Steve Hofstetter is one of the best in the business. He's smart. He's funny, super talented. If you haven't checked out his stuff, there's a reason why he has 1 billion views on social media. The guy's brilliant. So please check him out. We'll try to get Steve maybe in studio when he comes to Vegas. I think he's going to be here in May. He is the best. All right, we're going to reset. Here's what we are going to do. Now it's your turn to be a part of the show. So we are going to take a break first. And what do you make of this guy called, quote, Big Balls? That's his nickname on social media. Who, a part of Doge, who made blatant racist statements. He stepped down, and now J.D. Vance, our vice president, is saying he should come back. What do you make of that? Why is that? Why do they always defend white supremacists? The number to call if you want to be a part of the show is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. We're going to take a quick break first. And when we come back, we will be taking your calls. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part, every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYou101.com.
It's time to wake up and win the weekend. You're listening to the boss of the big ball. JP the Cat, giving you that grit. Join me every Saturday and Sunday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time for the live action on Vegas Scoreboard Express on KSHP 107.1 FM and AM 1400. Dive into the game day with my in-depth analysis, expert predictions, and winning plays from the sharpest minds in sports betting. It's more than just placing bets. It's about securing wins. Head over to jbtheticket.com and be sure to tune in to KSHP this weekend from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time to ride the winning wave with VSX. Tune in and get your money back from the sports book. All money, all sports, no bull. Miss the live show? Subscribe to Vegas Scoreboard Express on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts and radio listening.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back on a Friday. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, we got some great guests lined up for you next week. Actor Sean Astin's going to be joining us. Rudy. Come on. Sean Astin. He's a legend. He's going to be joining us next week. David Pakman as well, so you're not going to want to miss that. You don't want to miss any of these shows. Come on, man. We just had one of the more popular comedians around, Steve Hofstetter. He's the best. You just missed it with him, but we'll repost that and we'll put that up on social media. Steve is so funny. He's so great. So I appreciate his time. I wanted to get him to talk a little smack about Rob Schneider. He sort of did, which was funny. We're talking, of course, about this Doge former now employee, but he might be rehired. Blatantly racist statements. What does it say about J.D. Vance? I think it's J.D. Vance and Ted Cruz have a lot in common. J.D. Vance's wife is Indian. And this guy from Doge said, normalize Indian hate. And J.D. Vance goes to social media today and thinks that we should, or they should, rehire this guy. I mean, this is just crazy stuff. We're taking your phone calls at 702-221-7283. All right, we'll go in order here. Let's start with Kim. Kim is first up on PTL. What's going on, Kim?
Hey, Brian, I got a couple things to say. I was watching Rachel about that guy about big balls, they call him. I was just absolutely flabbergasted. And for J.D. Vance to bring this guy back in, Rachel was saying about him and these other ones are connected to the Russians and then the Chinese. And then she went into great detail last night about all things that goes on, what they're into, who they're connected with. I'm in shock that they want to bring these back into our system, into our personal information.
Yeah, that's also crazy. J.D. Vance in some ways reminds me of Ted Cruz. Do you remember when Donald Trump?
Oh, I can't stand him.
Oh, of course, I can't stand him either. But do you remember when Donald Trump was attacking Ted Cruz's wife on her looks, like a personal?
Yeah.
And then Ted Cruz played this tough guy, and then has been coddling Donald Trump ever since. That's
absolutely.
If you're from a woman's perspective, if you're J.D. Vance's wife, and this guy who J.D. Vance is clearly defending, who said, quote, normalize Indian hate, and J.D. Vance thinks this guy should be back working for the Treasury. If you're J.D. Vance's wife, how do you even look at him in the face?
I don't know how to do it. But hey, I want to tell you something else. The news that come out that Jesse Dollemore come out on his show last night. Trump and his new DOJ is threatening companies if they don't go back to segregation, that they're going to start criminally prosecuting.
Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you something.
This is what they're wanting,
Get prepared. Kim, get prepared, because this is what we're going to have from the Donald Trump administration every single day for the next 4 years. I am not here to make you guys feel better. If some of you feel better because I speak truth and I call out the nonsense, that's great. But I'm not here to coddle anybody. This is what we are going to get from the next 4 years. And people got so upset at me when I said this was a Klan cult. J.D. Vance is literally defending this white supremacist today, called Big Balls. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. That would be my nickname, by the way, for Nancy Mace. Can we call her Big Balls? Nancy Mace Big Balls. That's my new nickname for Nancy Mace. Cup check in aisle 3. Let's go to Pat. Pat is next on PTL. What's up, Pat?
Hi, Brian. I just want to start with, if I was J.D. Vance's wife, I would treat him like Melania treats Trump.
So that would mean no sex in like 18 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I might as well become a priest.
Yeah.
My big question is, what is up with everybody using the acronym DEI? When somebody uses that term, I think that we need to ask them, what does DEI mean? Make them say it out loud. Make them speak the words diversity, equity, and inclusion. And maybe then they'll think about what those words mean and how it makes them
Okay,
look.
so listen, it's a code word. The right-wing MAGA Republicans out there have these code words. DEI is one of them, and it's a code word for the N-word. And I also believe when they have used the term woke, in my opinion, it's good to be aware of your surroundings. But the code word woke, as far as MAGA Republicans are, we don't want you to call out truth, so we are going to call you woke. They have these trigger code words, and DEI is another one. And when they don't want to take responsibility for their own actions, example, hours after this horrific plane crash, when I believe it was over 65 people that lost their lives, Donald Trump didn't want to take responsibility for literally gutting half of the FAA. So instead, he wanted to blame it on black people. This is a playbook from Donald Trump and his administration. If anything goes wrong, they will never take responsibility for it. They will blame black people. If that doesn't work, they will blame migrants. If that doesn't work, they will blame Joe Biden or Pete Buttigieg, the prior administration. This is a playbook that they are going to be using every single day. And sadly, so many of his ignorant supporters are going to buy into it.
Well, they need to realize they're just a bunch of racists.
Many of them are. You're right. Many of them are.
Oh, I think they all are. I have another question for the Republicans.
Yeah.
When new laws are introduced and passed, they're not retroactive. Birthright citizenship shouldn't be either. If they want to stop birthright citizenship, they need to put new laws into effect and act on them moving forward.
So I agree, and I'll even take it a step further. If they want to act in birthright, the birther issue, then Barron Trump should be deported, because if you look up when Barron Trump was born and Melania Trump's status, that would mean that Melania and Barron Trump should be deported. So if they want to push this, I think Barron should be deported. I really do. 702-221-7283. Let Melania move to Russia. Let's go to a call from Australia. We get calls not only all over the country, but all over the world, man. Jeff is calling in from Australia. What's up, Jeff?
G'day, mate. Look, I'm just ringing up with an observation of the electoral system in the United States compared to Australia, and how a person like Donald Trump, who's a convicted criminal, a rapist, a misogynist, a racist, and every other poor quality human being could get elected as president, yet alone in Australia, he would not make pre-selection for a local member in a federal election.
Yeah.
I just find it very strange.
Yeah, I do as well. What do you make, my friend, since you're in Australia, what do you make of Donald Trump threatening to own Gaza, 25% tariffs, all those threats? What do people in Australia think about what Donald Trump is doing? And do you think that Donald Trump is not just a threat to democracy and a threat to America, but do they think they're even a threat to people living in Australia?
Well, I don't know if he's a threat in a physical sense, like, let's invade Australia, like he wants to make Canada the 51st state or some malarkey like that, which is a complete load of hooey.
Right.
But the people I speak to and my friends and all that, we think the bloke's complete nut. Like, he's an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
There's no two ways about it.
Mm-hmm. He is. I agree.
I think there's some people in the United States that know less about the American Constitution and the way the electoral system works there than people in Australia.
Yeah.
And I blame that entirely on the insidious infiltration of right-wing media that's owned by that traitorous Australian Rupert Murdoch.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And his Fox News and all these other right-wing media outlets that spruik. They're just propaganda arms for right-wing. Talking points.
I agree with everything you just said. I love the people of Australia. I think of you guys like I think of Canadians, in at least in this. You guys are really good people. You're our allies. You have less crime. You respect the rule of law. Nobody's perfect, but I see what's happening in this country and everything you just said. And I think you and people of Australia and many good people around the world see Donald Trump as a laughingstock, not just crazy. I agree with you. Not just dangerous, but a laughingstock of the world. And I'm very concerned that how we're going to get through this, not just as a country, but the world, with Donald Trump at the reins over the course of the next 4 years. I'm very concerned. And I think America, we're losing respect around the world. That's what I think.
Well, I would think so. I mean, this tariff policy of his, he says, I did it because I got these concessions. Well, if you go into it, he got nothing.
Yeah.
He just made it look like a complete doofus.
But if you talk to MAGA supporters, they'll make it seem like Trump got something out of it. I had a moron calling yesterday. Oh, we got 10,000 troops at the border. Look at the president of Mexico. Yeah, there were 15,000 troops at the border under Biden. Oh, look at what Trudeau did. What did he do? He announced in December he was going to put 1.2 billion towards border security. He announced it in December. Oh, okay, we'll get rid of the tariffs now. A win for Donald Trump. They caved. And they have no idea what they're talking about. Donald Trump doesn't know what he's talking about. But if you speak to these MAGA supporters, they'll make it seem like it was some sort of win when it was the opposite.
Yeah, well, I agree. To me, it's like the masses of the vastly uneducated. They just lap up his crap like truffle pigs. He just throws stuff out, and there they go. And they're just
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
And
It's insanity. My friend, I really appreciate you listening in Australia. Thank you so much for the phone call.
Yeah, it's just one last thing, man. I've got to say, a person like Trump could never get elected in Australia because voting is compulsory in Australia.
Oh, I
You
agree.
have to vote.
I agree. What time is it there,
Right,
by the
so
way? People are asking me.
It's quarter past 8 on Saturday morning.
Wow. All right. Cool.
Voting is compulsory, and we vote on a Saturday, so you don't have to take time off work.
Right.
And it's like a big social event. People vote at public schools.
It'll never
and
happen
church
here. It'll never happen here because that'll be bad for the Republicans. It would never happen here.
Yes, it's like because it suppresses the vote. But anyway,
it absolutely does. Well, Hey, I'm doing a morning show in Australia now. Thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate you calling out there from Australia. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
it reminds me of Dungaroos. You remember Dungaroos? Making a stupid Australian joke. Leighton Hewitt was one of my favorite tennis players back in the day. The Australian Dungaroos. You remember Dungaroos? Thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate you. 702-221-7283. Hey, I'm sure the right-wing hacks are getting calls from Australia. They can't even get 2 phone calls in an hour in Las Vegas. Who am I going to next? Let's go to Terry. Terry's next on PTL. What's up, Terry?
Hi, how are you?
Hey, good. What's on your mind?
First, I'm still kind of catching my breath from Stevie and Gary yesterday, some guests that you have. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah, they're not guests.
Oh, my God.
They're definitely not guests. They just happen
Callers.
to call. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you finished that show, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to need a little more therapy after those calls. But the other thing I wanted to mention to you, and I'm really interested in your thoughts, is I think we're missing something because there's one very specific element that we have to zone in on to understand how to overcome the constant fire hose of shock and lies.
Mm-hmm.
And we are witnessing the mastering of the GOP superpower.
Yeah.
And that superpower is shamelessness. How do you overcome shamelessness?
Well, I would normally say at the voter booth, but America didn't really do that, did they? So
it's really, really hard to witness, right? Like I'm a normal person. I'm educated. I've got a good job. I've got a great family. Things are good. I'm normal.
Mm-hmm.
If I called somebody a jackass and somebody called me out for it, and I'd say I didn't call anyone a jackass, and they'd show me a video on their phone of me calling someone a jackass,
right.
I would say, wow, you know what? So embarrassed. Not my finest moment.
Well, you know what? No, but hold on. But hold on a second. Let me tell you something. Terry, it is, right? Let me tell you something, okay? If somebody wants to cut an audio clip of me calling Donald Trump a jackass, please play it over and over and over again. If somebody wants to clip, I know, but if somebody wants to clip me in audio calling Donald Trump a liable sexual abuser and a 34-count felon, please play it over and over and over again. And maybe, I don't know, play it in some of the prisons. I don't know. So people can hear it over and over again. I don't know. All right. Thank you for the call, my dear. Let's go to Lauren. Lauren is next up on PTL. Hello, Lauren. What's going on?
Hi, Brian. Yeah. I don't know the DEI hire thing. I think is, what group of people do you think most benefit from DEI?
People in Donald Trump's administration who are clearly unqualified for the job. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well,
I would say, well, let me give you a better answer, Lauren, if I may.
Okay.
I would say predominantly people who are white, people who are unqualified, people like the Pete Hegseths of the world and the Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s of the world, and people that have money equaling power, but are completely unqualified for positions that they are in. I would say those are the people that benefit the most.
Okay. Well, actually, it's white women.
Okay. Well, I mean, I could see that as well.
You know, the white women in the corporate world have benefited most from DEI.
Okay. So can I ask you a question? By the way, Lauren, that makes sense to me. I'm not disagreeing with you. So, Lauren, let me ask you a question. When Donald Trump uses the term DEI, who do you think he's talking about?
Who do I think he's talking about? Well, I guess in the most recent thing would be the airplane accident.
Right, but what demo do you think he's talking about? I don't think he's talking about white women.
In that particular case, it was a white woman.
Right, but what demo do you think he's talking about? Because in my opinion, when Donald Trump uses the term DEI hire, and so many on the far right, they're talking about minorities and they're talking about lesbians, because they remember when they attacked the firefighters in California and the lesbian firefighters in California, they weren't talking about straight white women, right? They were talking about minorities and gay people, which I think, by the way, is reprehensible. Would you agree with me that when Donald Trump talks about DEI hires, he's not talking about people like Kayleigh McEnany. He's not talking about people like Caroline Leavitt. Would you agree with me? Did we lose Lauren? What happened to Lauren? Did we lose Lauren? Sorry about that, Lauren. That was completely unintentional. I would have liked you to answer that question. You're welcome to call back. Sorry about that, Lauren. That was unintentional. All right, let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. Hi, Paul. What's going on?
Hey, buddy. Happy Friday.
Hey.
You know, we could learn something from Mussolini. I know this is going to sound a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. When Mussolini came to power after World War I, people were suffering from the war, right? He tapped into their grievance, their anger, because the conditions weren't optimal after the war. Obviously, a war just happened. He came to power as a fascist. He was going to start a coup. The government didn't want people to die, so they just gave him power. What caused him to downfall? After he tried to take over the world, basically, is what he tried to do, is conquer all the countries, people were living on 1,000 calories of food a day. They were going to the black market to find food. What happened to Mussolini? He was voted out of power for no confidence. A few days later after that, somebody shot and killed him on the eastern part. After that, after he was dead, Brian, they drugged him and his little girlfriend, and they hung him upside down by his ankles in the town square, and they stoned him for 2 days. That's the reason that Hitler killed himself, because he didn't want to be treated like Mussolini.
Right.
I think what's going to happen here in the next 6 to 9 months is that Trump supporters are going to find out that their jobs are going away. They're going to get pay cuts. They're not going to have SNAP benefits. They're not going to have VA benefits. And they're going to turn on Trump faster than a light switch. They can say they love him, but the moment they feel 1 ounce of pushback, of pain, of suffering, they will eat their own. They're like rats in a bucket.
So I
really
agree.
believe that.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. There's a couple problems here. Number one, a lot of these MAGA cultists never will admit that they're wrong about anything. Number two, I find in radio, particularly over the course of the last 10 years, if you challenge any MAGA Republican, they see it as an attack. If you challenge their opinions or views, they could be politicians, they could be callers who call into this show, they could be right-wing hack radio hosts. If you challenge their opinions in any way, if you challenge them, they see it as a personal attack. And it's why a Mark Levin never interviews a liberal. It's why it's so rare for a Laura Ingraham or a Sean Hannity or a Jesse Waters to actually have a spirited debate with somebody. Very rare. They almost never do it. And the reason why is, number one, they can't defend the indefensible. And number two, they're cowards and they don't want to be challenged.
Why do you think they're so triggered by Black History Month, Brian? Here's why.
Well, it's simple. Because they're racist. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Are racist.
Yeah.
But their comment is what? I don't see color. We all bleed red. You know what I asked them? And I do this the last week. Then tell me something. If we don't see color, why did the founding fathers say that only 21-year-old white men were allowed to have rights in this country until 1965? And every time I ask them that, oh, Hunter Biden's laptop. Oh, that happened 200 years ago. Because this country is racist, Brian, and part of this country doesn't want to accept what it is. It was built on white male patriarchy, period.
Well, guess what? Donald Trump,
like it.
Donald Trump has built his administration the same way, unfortunately, Paul. I appreciate your call, my friend. Always good to hear from you. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Let's go to Nancy. Nancy's next up on PTL. What's up, Nancy?
Hey, Brian. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Oh, God. Thank God I got through. I just wanted to address the big ball in the room. This kid, first of all, Big Balls is the 19-year-old with the unfortunate hair. But can you imagine you're a government employee, you've dedicated decades of your life to serving this country, and you have to be interviewed by a 19-year-old Nepo baby incel named Big Balls
Yeah.
to justify your job.
Well, even worse. I agree. Even worse. Our own vice president, whose wife is Indian, and he is defending this guy, saying he doesn't want this kid's reputation to be tarnished. Bring him back. If you any Fortune 500 company, for the most part, any CEO, right, any normal business would say, this guy doesn't represent our beliefs. He doesn't represent our opinions or how we feel. They would fire him, and that would be the end of it. But not Elon Musk. Elon Musk is defending this guy, putting out stupid polls. Hey, should I bring him back? Asking the question. Meanwhile, J.D. Vance is defending him and saying, bring him back, as at working for the Treasury. This is the Trump administration. Because if this was somebody who was actually a minority, they would, ostracize this guy, right? But because this is a white male who's attacking minorities and saying Gaza and Israel should be wiped off the face of the earth, they want to give him a second chance. If you're white in this country, or if you're a January 6th insurrectionist white supremacist who beat police officers, you get a second chance. But if you're a minority in this country, or an immigrant in this country for decades, nonviolent, who pays taxes, you can get the hell out. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Donald Trump administration, and that is what they are going to be doing, Project 2025, for the next 4 years.
Absolutely. That's what they don't, honestly, they don't see themselves as like us. And I don't mean us as in liberals. I mean us as in normal, everyday people.
Right.
They think there's a special set of rules for them, and they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And the rest of us, if you are a party, and this is the thing that gets me about the Republicans, if you are a party that is completely unburdened by truth or facts or morals, then you can do whatever you want. And they're doing it.
They have not only do they have a separate set of rules, but they also, Donald Trump has never abided by any rules or regulations, and he doesn't respect the rule of law. He never has his entire life. He's just paid women off to keep them quiet, including his ex-wife in court documents, who claimed that he sexually abused her. So take that to the bank. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Matt. Matt is next up on PTL. Hey, Matt, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Brian.
What's up, Matt?
Another part of that DEI equation is the disabled people that Trump has a disdain for.
As he does. Yeah, you're right. He does.
I always remember the disabled reporter.
Yeah.
I can't get that image out of my mind.
No, you know what?
How
People
he was mocking.
People forget about that.
Reporter.
Matt, I have not forgotten about that. It was absolutely disgusting. And I know MAGA supporters that still defend it and say that's not what he meant. Really? He's literally talking about a journalist who was paralyzed, partially paralyzed. He's making the same hand movements of somebody that is paralyzed. That is who Donald Trump is. That's who he is.
My God.
And people voted for that guy. Millions of people voted for that guy. Not once, not twice, but three times. Yeah, it's unbelievable. I agree.
And now he's going to be at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's, it's interesting because Dr. Jill Biden's going to be there too. I mean, I hope they don't show Donald Trump on television.
I hope they don't either.
They probably will. They shouldn't, but they probably will, my friend. And these are the times that we are living in today. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm scared just like you are. I'm worried just like you are. The first 3 weeks of Donald Trump's administration coming back have been disastrous. I could name you 20 things he's done that I think are horrible for the country. But,
20?
MAGA, probably more. But
that's a low number.
It is a low number. But that's. I'm sorry. I you know what, sir? I misspoke. That's the average IQ of a Donald Trump supporter. I apologize. I appreciate your call, my friend. You have a great weekend. Let's go to Chris. Chris is next up on PTL. Hey, Chris, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Great show, brother.
Thank you.
Found you on YouTube not long ago, and I'm from Texas. My representative is Dan Crenshaw.
Oh, geez.
And give me a minute here, because in the last Congress, he voted not only for Ukraine aid, but the normal funding appropriation bills, which I think you and I would agree is probably the correct position to take, right?
Mm-hmm. He at times he does vote correctly, at times.
So let's fast forward to the last 3 weeks. And my question is really for Republicans and their congressional members, right? In the face of what we would think is complacency, right? Whether it's willful ignorance or not, what do these congressmen and women believe their position will be at the end game, right? If the executive branch is deciding what programs to fund and what aid is relevant, all while subverting the Congress's responsibility, do they understand that they soon will become irrelevant? I just don't hear enough people saying this, and I thought I'd call and get your insight as well.
Well, here's what I'll say. Let me start by giving you my opinions on Dan Crenshaw. Now, I respect his service to this country. I'm going to tell you a story about Dan Crenshaw. I know a lady who lives here in Las Vegas who is very, very close to Dan Crenshaw. And this is a lady who once ran for office here in Las Vegas. She's a Republican. And she told me she spent a lot of time with Dan Crenshaw, and she told me time and time again that Dan Crenshaw would complain to her on the phone that I can't say what I want to say about Donald Trump because I will lose my support. So Dan Crenshaw, here's a man who served this country and risked his life, right? Which I will always respect no matter what I think about your political beliefs. But Dan Crenshaw risked his life for this country, but he's in fear of losing power. So he doesn't want to speak out the truth about who Donald Trump is and the threat that he is. Now, Dan Crenshaw is not alone. The overwhelming majority, I'd say more than 90% of Republicans that are in office today are afraid to say how they really feel about Donald Trump. In fact, some of those who are working in his administration, like the Marco Rubios of the world. And then you have 10% of a bunch of maybe 8% of a bunch of morons like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert who wear the Donald Trump knee pads and actually believe what they say. And then you have maybe 2% of Republicans that have spoken out against him. Liz Cheney's, the Mitt Romneys, the Adam Kinzingers. There are very, very few, right?
And where did they go, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Out
I mean,
the door.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I'm with you, my friend, and I appreciate the call. Dan Crenshaw, very disappointing. For the people on social media that are saying my take is bad, for the people on social media that disagree with me, those are the same people that are cowards and are not willing to call into the show and have a conversation with me. I welcome you to call in and have a conversation with me if you disagree with me instead of using your little Trump fingers and typing. All right, let's go to Scott. Scott is next up on PTL. What's up, Scott?
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Sure.
So just to shed a little light, since the conversation was kind of revolving around J.D. Vance for a while.
Yep.
J.D. Vance is very tied into the Heritage Foundation. Heritage Foundation is backed by the Kochs. They've been running that organization since the late 70s. And their essential credence, or what the credo is, that they want to dismantle government and privatize everything.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that that's exactly the path that this has been taking, this present administration. There's a really good book called Democracy and Change, written by Nancy McLean, who it's an expose. She went in and did research on the architect of this, James McGill Buchanan.
How could anybody respect J.D. Vance? How could his wife respect him? This is a guy who called Donald Trump the next American Adolf Hitler, and all he does now is kiss the ring. You have a guy that used to work for Doge, maybe he'll be rehired, who said normalize Indian hate. What a terrible thing to say. J.D. Vance's wife is Indian, and J.D. Vance is saying that this guy should be rehired. I mean, how, as a woman, and listen, I respect his wife. She's obviously a very intelligent, accomplished woman. But how do you respect somebody who stands by their man like that? Like, I don't understand. How could you even look at yourself in the mirror when you say, my husband is the guy that is okay with someone working for the Treasury who says people should hate me because I'm Indian? What is the excuse that his wife would say to that? Like, I wish people would ask these Republicans these questions. I really do.
Well, J.D. Vance actually wrote the foreword for Dawn's Early Light, Taking Back Washington to Save America, which is written by Kevin D. Roberts, who is the president of the Heritage Foundation. So the Heritage Foundation is just laden with racists.
Oh, God, yes.
It comes as no surprise to me. 150%.
And by the way, I didn't even mention this, and I appreciate the call, my friend. guy now working in Donald Trump's administration, is literally the author of Project 2025, the founding author. These are the people that are working in Donald Trump's administration. For all you complicit people out there that said, oh, they're not going to implement Project 2025, they're doing it right now as we speak. And there are people in Donald Trump's administration that put it all together. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Kyle. Kyle is next up on PTL. Hey, Kyle, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Yeah, this crazy thing here. I'm glad Brian said something about these guys in Congress. I've been thinking the same thing lately, that, I mean, why are they afraid to stand up and say something against Trump? Because they're not going to have a job soon enough anyway. So why not actually do something with some balls and stand for a conviction instead of tucking your tail and eventually losing your job anyways?
You're right. You're
that's
right.
Not really that call. They just want to make that statement. But I think people get to talk about DEI. They get it all wrong. Like, I don't think companies out there actually have DEI as is written into a hiring policy, because it's illegal to hire based off of protected race, gender, sexual orientation, and age. So you can't actually specifically go out and say, well, we need to hire more black women or white women or Hispanics. But it's part of when implemented, it's part of a corporate policy to be inclusive, to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to advance, that everybody has a chance to participate in the corporation.
Sure.
It brings people together at its heart. So
sure,
the way that Republicans have transferred this into a hiring practice is just another false.
But you know what, my
people
friend?
keep falling for.
You're right. So, my friend, when Charlie Kirk said, when I step onto a plane and I see a black pilot, should I be worried that they're not properly trained? He made those types of comments. This is the way that many of these MAGA Republicans think. Now, no normal human being, when I say normal, I mean not racist, not looking at someone because of the color of their skin, but because of who they are as a person. Well, no normal person steps on a plane and says to themselves, geez, I hope my pilot isn't black. That is the way a Klansman thinks, right? That is the way they thought back in Nazi Germany days. Geez, I hope this person isn't Jewish, right? But these people within the MAGA Republican Party think like that. Charlie Kirk is not alone. The bad part about it is that Charlie Kirk has a powerful position. Charlie Kirk has a large platform. This is the way these people think. So after a plane crash, should we be surprised that they're talking about DEI hires? After catastrophic fires in California, should we be surprised that this is the way that these MAGA Republicans think? I say no. This is the way so many of them think. We need to call it out every day, and every single time they say DEI hire, we all need to say they're just calling people the N-word and they're trashing on people that are different than them. That's exactly what it is.
Deny, defer, deflect. That's the principles of being a Republican.
I think in 2025, you're not wrong, my friend. Good to hear from you. Great call. Great call. I appreciate you. All right. So sometimes we get celebrities that call into this show. This guy played in the NBA for 11 years. He gets angry if I say 12 years, I might get it wrong. And it's been a little while because we don't talk a lot of sports on this show anymore. But Paul McKeskey's very politically savvy, and he's called in. Coach Mo, what's going on, man?
It's 12 years, Brian. Come on, man.
I apologize. It's interesting. Mo, when Anthony Scaramucci comes on and I get like a day wrong, I think he lasted like 11 or 12 days or 13 days in the Donald Trump administration, he gets angry at me as well. So I understand. Go ahead, Mo.
Yeah. Shoot, I clawed my way for 12 years in the NBA. I want to claim all of them.
What's on your mind, Mo?
Well, Brian, we've had this discussion months ago, and I brought it up to you, and we've talked about it, and it's happening now right in front of our eyes. I told you and a bunch of people that when Donald Trump brought Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, to Mar-a-Lago to talk to him months ago, it was so he could learn how to take over a country just like Orban has with Hungary. And now he's following that step by step, divide the country, give them a bunch of fake news, and they'll believe you if you say enough of that stuff. And we officially have the first American oligarch. We have the first American oligarch in Elon Musk. And here's the definition of an oligarch. And you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, or any caller out there. Here's the dictionary's definition of an oligarch: a very rich business leader with a great deal of political influence from the with reference to individuals who decide to take over a state, and they put in their advisors, their employees, their allies to help them do so.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk that's the definition of Elon Musk.
I agree.
A very rich businessman who has influence over the president and is making decisions about hiring, firing, budgets, budget cuts, and even more, and now has our private information access to, who is a private businessman.
And even worse,
it's amazing to me.
Mo, I
And-
agree. I agree
and
with
I'll tell
everything. Even worse, I just want to go a step further here. When Caroline Levitt, the press secretary, was asked about the checks and balances of Elon Musk, her response, and I'm paraphrasing here, was basically, well, if he thinks there's a conflict of interest, he'll step away from it. Oh, so Elon Musk is going to check himself. Boy, how comforting is that, isn't it, Mo?
It's really sad, and I just want everybody that's listening out there. We are no longer a democracy. I'm sorry. We're an oligarchy, and Elon Musk is the first oligarch, just like Russia, just like it's the same thing. And in 3 weeks, we've turned away from democracy. It's really sad for me.
Yeah, it's
this
not
happening.
just sad
And
for
then
you. It's sad for a lot of us,
people
Mo.
don't, and when you bring this up to other, to MAGAs or whatever,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, yeah, but this guy did that, and this guy did. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about specifically Elon Musk as an oligarch. He is. Just read the definition.
He is absolutely an oligarch. Mo, I agree with you 150%. We usually disagree about your Milwaukee Bucks because my Boston Celtics are a better team. But Mo, we're going to have some fun. I'm going to be watching the Super Bowl with Mo this weekend. Mo, thanks for calling in, man. Good to hear from you. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. What's up, Paul?
How you doing, Brian?
Good.
I wanted to better understand the Trump supporter, so I went on and tried to understand them better. And I scared catch up and was bombarding them with videos of Trump and his character and his AI character and so on and so forth. I got banned from True Social.
Really? Well, I got to be honest with you. I haven't done a lot on this, and I'm probably going to talk about it more next week, but there are some social media entities that are censoring anti-Donald Trump stuff. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into this. Listen, we know Elon Musk has done it on X. I mean, it's ridiculous. He's a thief, what he's doing on X. So I'm with you there. And maybe when we have a little bit more time next week, call back and maybe we can dive a little bit more deeper into that. Let's see here. Who do we have next year? Keith, line 4. Let's go to Keith. Tell us where you're calling from, too. I'm so bad at that. Hi, Keith. Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm in Florida, the home of Cat Turd on X.
Oh no, that guy's the worst. The home of Matt Gaetz, the home of Ron White Boot DeSantis. Boy, you got a lot of real
we got idiot
winners.
voters here.
Oh boy,
we got idiot voters here. They vote against their best interest all the time. Listen, I don't know if you caught it or not, and I'm not sure if it was today or yesterday, but Carolyn Levitt in a press briefing, she said that Trump was going to bring down prices at the grocery pump.
Did she really say that? Oh,
yeah, I saw it I saw it on Farron Cousins' show.
I'm wondering,
he played the clip.
Keith, I'm wondering what policy she thinks will make that happen. Is it the threat of 25% tariffs, the threat of taking over a sovereign nation, the biggest tax breaks for the top 1%, gutting our FBI? I'm wondering what policies that Donald Trump has implemented would make anybody like a Caroline Levitt think that the prices are going to go down. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I didn't catch the whole thing because he just played like the clip of her saying grocery pump.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the full context of it, but she said he's going to bring down the price at the grocery pump.
Yeah, just like he was going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. Remember when he said that? Do you remember when he said that? Yeah, he said that.
I'm still wondering where I can find one of them grocery pumps because I need to pump some groceries into my fridge.
Yeah, let's pump some groceries. Keith, let me tell you something. Caroline Levitt did this show. She is a bimbo who did this show several months ago, and she proven to be an election denier. She's an election denier. She did this show, And she will say and do anything. She's another one of those fake Christians who wears that cross around her neck and her crypt keeper, 100-year-old husband. She will lie every single day for Donald Trump. She will not tell the American people the truth. And she's only has a viewer of one. And that's the problem with all these people in the Trump administration. They only care about one person's opinion. They don't care about the American people. They certainly don't care about your average American living paycheck to paycheck. They only care about
like me.
Yeah, exactly. And like me, they only care about what Donald Trump thinks and what Donald Trump says. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it, my friend. Did Caroline Levitt really say that? How long is the cut? All right. This is Caroline Levitt saying that what Keith was just talking about, how the prices are going to go down. Have a listen to this.
How long will it take to cycle through and get some of the actual prices that Americans are paying to come down?
Prices at the store and at the grocery pump, all of the across the board, sure. Well,
The grocery pump. Whoa.
to reduce the cost of living crisis in this country as quickly as possible. That's why he signed a litany of executive orders across the board.
All right, just cut it. I can't listen to this nitwit. The grocery pump? What? What's the grocery pump? It's interesting. I never heard that one before. A litany of executive orders. Oh, you mean the executive order of not allowing Medicare to negotiate with the pharmaceuticals to lower our prescription drugs or capping insulin at $35? You mean that executive order? Is that going to lower the price of eggs? You stupid bimbo nitwit. Caroline the bimbo. That's what she is. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Ray. Ray is next up on PTL.
Hey, Brian, I agree with Keith. I'm from Florida myself. Number one, I still can't get your address to mail you these articles about it. Pilots and Gates.
The best thing
That's
to do.
number one.
The best thing to do would be to email me. That would be a lot easier than mail. Just send me an email at brianshapiro@kshp.com. That'd be the best way.
That's KHFB.
You got the letters a little bit wrong there, but I would also ask you to go to my website, pushingthelimits.live. So you'll get all the contact information on there, so you won't have to write it down. Just go to Pushing the Limits.
I've done that, and it says server error.
Well, that's weird. You're telling me my website's not up? Well, we'll have to take a look at that. Maybe you're my producer. Is the deep state? Is this the deep state? Is the deep state affecting my website, my producer? No, the website's up, and it's great. It's up there.
Okay, I got one more comment.
Yes.
About Pam Bondi and that.
Yes, sir.
Press secretary. I can't say it on his show, but they're both. It starts with a C.
Yeah,
You know what
I'm
I mean.
not. I know exactly what word you are referring to, and I do appreciate your call, my friend. Thank you very much. I like to call them the DEI bimbos of the Trump administration. By the way, the men are bimbos too. They're all bimbos. They're all DEI hires. Everybody in Donald Trump's administration qualified. You could make the argument that Marco Rubio is qualified. I don't agree with his politics, but he's a two-faced idiot. 702-221-7283. Who are we going to next here? Dave. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. What's up, Dave?
Hey, Brian. I just heard about the whole grocery thing. I already know the answer to that one. The Orange Buffoon just signed an executive order to go from, ready for this one, paper straws back to plastic.
Oh, thank
that's
God.
how you're gonna
Oh,
lower
thank
gross-
God.
That's how the grocery
Thank God.
are going to come down.
Oh, my God. Let me tell you something, sir. Thank God Donald Trump did that, because if there's anything on Americans' minds, it's definitely not about health care. It's not about abortion and taking away a woman's right to choose. It's not about all the violence in this country. No, the first thing on Americans' minds are absolutely straws. I mean, I completely, well, thank God he did that at the grocery pump. What is a grocery pump, by the way? I'm wondering what that is. I don't know. Wow. I mean, that's going to save so many lives. Think about that. I mean, wow. Thank God. Putting people back to work, making straws. Thank God for Donald Trump. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
Make your weekend.
Yeah, I didn't. Somebody else did tell me about that. I forgot about it. I'm glad you reminded me. Well, at least Donald Trump has his priorities in check. Thank God. Thank you for the call. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank God for that executive order. Wow, we got Make America Straws again. Oh my God. All right, calling from Pennsylvania. Let's go to Kathy. Kathy is next up on PTL. What's up, Kathy?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Good.
That's good. Well, I think J.D. Vance wants to take that dude to lunch, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Perhaps
that could be it. Okay.
Perhaps.
But let's talk about something very important here. I'm a big Eagles fan, and I'm going with them for the win for 3 points. What you got?
All right. I haven't even, you know what? I should have done at least 10 minutes on this. I'm going to go with the Eagles as well. I think Mahomes, I think people are sick of the Chiefs, and I think finally maybe the Eagles might get a few calls. Over under, how many times do you think they show Donald Trump tomorrow?
In Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
That's a hard call.
Who do they show more, Taylor Swift or Donald Trump? I mean, obviously, I hope so. I hope so. I mean, don't get me wrong, though. I mean, Donald Trump is far more attractive to look at, right? I mean, what an attractive person.
Yeah. Yes, what a macho alpha male he is.
I want to see his grocery pump. I'm sorry, that was a terrible joke. Thank you for
small.
Yeah, it's a very small pump.
He says it's too small.
Yeah, it's a very small grocery pump. I certainly agree with you, my dear. Thank you for the phone call. Let's go to Larry. Larry is next up on PTL. What's going on, Larry?
Hello. Yes, I've spoke to you before, but I had a question for you, and I was just wondering that, due to the fact that natural-born citizens are no longer eligible to stay here because they were born of an immigrant. So when are we sending Ivanka?
Hashtag deport Ivanka. Yeah, there you go. Deport Barron.
Both of them.
Listen, here's what I think they should do. Okay. Melania Trump, who probably wants to be deported. I would imagine she wants to be as far away she probably wants to be as far away from her contractual husband as possible. Barron Trump, Ivanka Trump, Ivanka. Listen, send them all to Russia. I mean, I'm sure Vladimir Putin will take very good care of them. That's what I think they should do.
Oh, yeah. He's loving putting up the pictures about them.
Yeah. I mean, listen, deport them all. All right. I'm up against the clock, my friend, but I do appreciate your phone call. Thank you. Let's go to Karen. Karen is calling from Texas. Hi, Karen. What's going on?
Hey, Brian. First time I've ever called. I have a question because I've never heard anybody address it yet.
Yeah.
These guys, the GOP they've got the trifecta, they like to call it. Mm-hmm. And they're blocking everything that the Democrats try to do. And then the judges do stuff, and Trump just doesn't abide by it.
Yeah.
So don't you think that at some point this is going to go to the Supreme Court? And then the question of, his presidential immunity while in office is going to come up?
Well, I think it very well could come up, but as long as you have the Clarence Thomases of the world and others that are as corrupt as you can be, Donald Trump will have free reign to do whatever he wants. And what about Clarence Thomas's lunatic wife? And Donald Trump the other day said she was a wonderful woman. Oh my God. A January 6th, backer, for lack of a better term. Margie is calling from New Jersey. Hi, Margie. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind today?
Talk about this yet.
Say that again, Margie.
Hello?
Yeah, Margie, are you there?
That was the other caller.
Yeah, go ahead, Margie. Sorry about that.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good.
I'm calling because I have a question. I have to ask you this.
Yep.
Okay, this is a little scary. I'm going to try to make it quick because I know you're short on time. When Donald Trump got elected into office, I went outside and I turned my American flag upside down.
Yep.
That is how I fly my flag.
Yes.
My sister had a problem with that. She said that is very disrespectful to the country. I said, no, it's not about the country.
Yeah.
It's about the president.
Let me tell you something.
Has nothing to do with my country.
Let me tell you something, and I'm sorry to cut you off because I'm up against the clock here. We only got a minute. Let me tell you something. I'm probably not as nice of a person as you are. You sound like a very nice lady. I would tell her to go F herself. Okay? Go F yourself. I'm putting this flag upside down. After Jimmy Carter died, Donald Trump had a problem with everybody putting their flags at half staff, which is something we've been doing for decades. I would tell your sister to go F herself. okay? And her Confederate flags and her Donald Trump knee pads, she can all shove it because you have the freedom and the right to do that. And quite frankly, I think you are in the right to do that, my dear. So go ahead and have your sister call into this show. Love to have a conversation with her. Oh, my goodness. All right, everybody. It's been a fun week of shows. This is a show that is like ever growing. I'm sorry I couldn't get to the rest of the phone calls. I could take like 5 hours of calls every day, and I'm so appreciative of all of you. And you always have a platform to call into this show. But I get it from people every day. How can I get more involved in what you do? We are an independently owned show. I own all my own content, so we rely on people like you to support what we do. How can you do that? Check out the website, pushingthelimits.live. That's where you can make donations. That's where you can buy PTL gear. We sell a shirt on there. We sell shirts, beanies, and everything. But there's one shirt that's my personal favorite. It says, "Don't be a right-wing buffoon," with my face attached to it. Pushingthelimits.live. You can make donations, $5, $10, $20 a month, whatever you can afford. We so appreciate your support. Next week, we have some great guests lined up. We are scheduled to have Sean Astin, the actor, going to be joining us on the show. David Pakman. We have some other big guests as well. And I hope all of you have a great and safe weekend. Follow me on YouTube at PTL Radio Show. Again, at PTL Radio Show. Thank you so much to my friend and probably my favorite comedian on the planet, Steve Hofstetter, for joining us today. He's great. We will see all you guys on Monday, same time, same place. I love you guys. Have a great weekend.
Buddy, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian